business, and I've got one too. You can't mind your business. What's the matter with you?
Welcome to the latest episode of the Brand Shorthand Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Vandergrift, and with me today is the Wizard of Wrap-Ups, Lorraine Kessler.
Hey, what a great one.
Lorraine, it's our wrap-up session for the season. Can you believe that?
I can't, and I have a little task for Lindsay. She should go through all the ones we've done and make a list of all the names you've given me.
Positioning prodigy, branding brainiac, dazzling differentiator, marketing magician, advertising ace, advertising all-star, marketing maven, our branding buff, our strategy superstar, branding backbone, creative catch, strategy sorcerer, campaign captain, hero of heuristics, brains of branding, creative conqueror, positioning prophet, Lorraine Kessler.
There you go. That would be really interesting.
Excluding any profane, which were not part of the podcast. That would be fun.
Well, I think we're getting really close to our 100th episode, which is really rare. There aren't many episodes or many podcasts that make it that long. So, our longevity is a testimony to either our long-windedness or the power of positioning and all the things that it applies to.
Self-aggrandizement, need to be significant.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to look back on the season here. I'm going to just kind of prompt you with a few questions, Lorraine. And we had to go back and get a summary from Lindsay of everything we talked about because we've had 32 episodes already, which is hard to fathom. But we always take a break in November, December for the holidays. And of course, January, we got to get our legs under us again. So this week is our last of the season, and we'll be back again for season 4 in probably late January. So Lorraine, thanks for hanging in there with us for 3 years. That's just hard to fathom.
Yeah.
Feels like yesterday. Well,
it does. It really does.
It does. Yeah. Let's start out with something pretty easy here because I know that we always like to start out with what the bad news is, but we're going to start with the good news. And it's always easy to target the brands who do not so smart things. But from this standpoint of good news, what was your favorite brand move this season? And maybe it's not even on our radar. Maybe we didn't talk about it yet.
Well, it is one that wasn't on our radar, and it's Heinz. We talked about the corporate Heinz, craft. That's doesn't touch consumers the much as Heinz ketchup, right? The product. So, but they did something in a campaign this year that was both obvious and paradoxically surprising and brilliant. Really great. It's a commercial titled "Looks Familiar," and it was built on the distinctive brand assets and the recognition that people have for those assets, its colors and the shield heart shape of its logo. And what they did is they showed French fries in a box, and they showed how all the French fry boxes, resemble the Heinz shield logo, but they had all these shots of French fries in boxes from all sorts of countries. I mean, and cities, right? From Charlotte to Perth, Australia to Cape Horn, Bangkok, New York, Milan, you name it. It's a great commercial. There's no words, just these visuals, and then the beautiful Rossini's William Tell Overture. Okay. And so what they do is they take the recognition of their shield and they compare it to the fries and make this connection that looks familiar, that worldwide Heinz is the ketchup for French fries. And I think the last line is something like, I'll have to look it up. Here it is. Yeah. When it's fries, it has to be Heinz. It's a brilliant spot. It makes you feel good. It's fun. It's obvious. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah. And it certainly, I think, reinforces their global presence as a product, as a what I would call a super product, a super brand. Yeah.
Very cool.
Cool.
Well, my favorite was actually having the guests we had on this season. We had a lot internally. Scott Edwards started out. He kind of pitch hit for you for
Yep.
the Super Bowl episodes. We had Alyssa and Lauren for programmatic advertising. Alicia did creative. We had the entire creative department at one point, or most of it. Tony with multi-channel marketing. And then we had two outside guests, Steve Vandergrift, my brother, talked about franchising. And then James Warnkin just finished our last two episodes around website accessibility. So it was a good lineup of guests this year. And it's always good to get some other perspectives on here. Although, having you, Lorraine, is always the best option.
Oh,
So.
yeah. You must be afraid of my Italian family from New Jersey.
No.
No.
I did get to go to Italy this year, so that's another
I
good
know.
thing. But that has nothing to do with the podcast.
Yeah, but you weren't kidnapped.
No, I was not.
Yeah. We're
Well, let's
shaken
look at the
down.
bad news front because we do that much more than otherwise. You have a front runner for the most egregious brand move from this season.
Yeah, that is for me Jaguar. I mean, right? I mean, 97% drop in sales. I think 49 cars have sold since like April or something. And you have that statistic. The Bizarro rebrand was part of the problem, but it wasn't the total problem because they made a conscious decision strategically to stop making their internal combustion version of the Jaguar, so only electric. And that literally the combination of that commercial, which to me reminds me of Andy Warhol's Blood for Dracula film. If you've never seen Andy Warhol's horror films, they're really freaking weird, just like the Bizarro ad that Jaguar came up with. But I think the combination of that strategy of getting rid of internal combustion and the commercial, the rebrand, and what a dud it was, never showing the car, really contributed to unliving the brand.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you can't say the S word on YouTube, so I'll say unliving the brand.
Well, the move here, I think that would have been better is just close it down and start a new company with all the buildings and assets you have. Because if you're going to take away that engine, and go to all electric, you don't have a Jag anymore. That's just like part and parcel to the brand.
Well, and plus they changed the logo. They completely stepped away from their heritage in terms of understanding the design culture that Jaguar kind of embodied. Unlike Heinz. I mean, it's a total opposite of Heinz, right?
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Well, speaking of things changing, we obviously talked about AI a lot because that's changing things. But I don't know how this happened. It's a little freaky, and I'm nervous that AI has me more in their grasp than I realized. We talked about AI every 10 episodes. Literally in episode 10, 20, and 30.
Well,
isn't that a little freaky? That was not intentional.
But dial this back to like 2000, 2001, 2, 3, when social media was the buzz.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That's all we talked about. That's all we talked about was social media, digital marketing, social, digital, interchangeable in some respects. Every time we were asked to speak somewhere, it was about social media. Yep. It tends to be the way things happen in our business.
Yeah, it seems to have a little bit more life to it. I think what we saw in the teens is we had that initial hit of social media, and then it was a few new platforms. So I remember Snapchat was a big one, and then Pinterest was a big one. I think that was it as far as like the big discussions until we got to TikTok.
Yeah.
And then TikTok, still kind of a lot of people think that that's changing the world pretty significantly. But even Twitter, I thought was interesting because that went up and then dipped.
Mm-hmm.
And then once Elon Musk bought it, it came back and it's a little bit more in the conversation. but it is. We're not sure where that level is going to land. But one of the predictions was replacement of 30 million jobs by 2026. And unless something happens pretty quickly here, I don't think AI is as, let's say, Armageddon-ish as what they thought, or
Yeah.
apocalyptical.
Well, none of these things are. I mean, do you remember Seth Godin and the permission marketing? And
Oh, yeah.
there'd be no intrusive marketing. Yeah, well, he's been real quiet on that front. And I'll never forget having that conversation with Jack Trout, right? Our mentor. And he was just like, that is total bollycocks. I mean, that is never
Yeah.
going to happen. And look at intrusive advertising is at an all-time high through the very platforms that Godin predicted would be all about permission.
Yeah.
So,
What'd you think about ChatGPT's commercials they've been running this year?
I thought I thought they did a really good job, not
Mhm.
focusing on the sci-fi, the techie, the features, but on what real people, it's very human, right? What real people can do that betters their lives in a very simple kind of set down way, not not overstated. So I think that's the absolute right path to go.
Mhm.
Is show me. This is the problem with technology, right? There's always the techie heads who are in love with the technology, and what they miss is, unless this is a benefit to the customer, and they can see the benefit as something in real terms, in real life, they get, actually, there's a fear that raises. The more you talk the tech, the more afraid I get. The more you start labeling things with these big terms, which when you figure them out, it's pretty simple. Oh, I could search a recipe and it will tell me, hey, here's the kind of recipes you would like. Now it becomes a tool that makes sense in my life. And I think that's what Chat GPT is doing with this commercial, and I think it's really smart.
Yeah, I mean, they make it less sci-fi
Mm-hmm.
and make it more approachable. And
Right.
that's kind of the key thing whenever you're doing, I think, anything. I go back to 2001: A Space Odyssey, which you remember how, and I can't do that, Dave.
Yeah, the how.
That's kind of where we think technology is for us older enough to remember that movie. But
Right.
when you humanize it, it's certainly changes things.
Yep.
Speaking of
Absolutely.
cool developments,
Mm-hmm.
I think that one of the topics that happened this year, and I know it's not new, but it's still great storytelling, is we had a couple really good uses of longer form video.
Right.
Volvo, they did their car launch, and then Apple used it for their AirPod launch.
Yep.
So the long form video, what do you think? Is that a fad, or do you believe that a lot of brands will start to lead with it like Volvo and Apple did?
Well, I don't think it's a fad. I don't even think it's new. I think it's been around for a very, very long time, because any long form um, film or video allows the storytelling to expand in a way that can be very extremely engaging and memorable, and you can get a lot of information out in a very creative, engaging way. So I don't think, I mean, a few years ago, we called some of these things infomercials, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's a particular style of long form. It's not all long form video are infomercial in their construct, but that's huge. So I love how our industry always tries to relabel things as if they're new and when instead they're just kind of new and improved.
Yeah.
Or you forgot that they existed, so now they seem new because someone brings them back. But yeah, I think it's the most powerful form of storytelling you can ever have is video, right? Because you got action, you have pictures, sound, music, personality, right? The trick is to make the long form commercial worth the time for the customer. In other words, interesting, because you cannot bore the customer into buying. And I've seen some of these that are done not so well. that are so boring that, you know, there should be like marketing malpractice, right? Um, but you get the right type of creative staff who knows the medium really well. The medium is the message, and knows how to construct that story in a way that it has an arc and it keeps you interested, and there's a main theme, then it's going to be successful. So,
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of those get so much social media commentary,
mhm.
and so they wick. You know, that's where you're getting your viral sharing going on and such. But boy, if you do it incorrectly,
Yeah.
it's just that can really backfire.
Yeah.
You know, that's where you got to be careful about. I want to create a viral video. You know, we actually get people that come to us and go, I want a viral video. Well, what's a viral video? That's called good advertising. And when it's, you know, commented on socially, then that's when you get
Well,
the
they're like
viral shit.
little films, and if you think of film as a medium
Yeah.
versus print, or more stagnant or static medium, it involves the most complex orchestration of talents. You have a
Mhm.
script writer that has to write a great script. It has to be produced well. It has to be in the right environment. The sound has to be good. Whatever sound effects you choose, whatever music, the talent is so crucial. You can take a great script, great production, all those elements, and have the wrong talent, and it's going to bomb. So
Mhm.
casting is so important. So all these things have to kind of, you know, work together in a really effective way, and that's why you need a really good professional production studio and creative team who's been through this before to do these kinds of.
Yeah. Yeah. Another big item that happened during our podcast season is we lost a few high profile CEOs.
Yeah.
So you lost Jaguars, of course, right? Targets, Starbucks. Um, of those that I recall, I know one the new CEO made an immediate impact, and that was Starbucks going back to the coffee experience. And stores are seeing an uptick in sales. And by my own anecdotal evidence, it seems as though our local Starbucks are much busier. They went back to their position, and I've seen things like writing on my cups. When I walk in, I hear "Good morning." When I've actually sat down, I've had a few times where they bring the drink to me instead of
Yep.
having to go up to the counter. I mean, a lot of things are correcting, and my spidey sense says that they've righted the ship. You know, what's your take on that? Or, you know, maybe Target, or I don't think Jaguar has any hope. But,
No.
you know, we already talked about that, but maybe, you know, your take on Starbucks or your take on Target.
Well, I think Starbucks is a great story of a new CEO who understands the core of the brand and what it really stood for in the beginning, that was able to congeal huge audiences who cared a lot about what they did, which is the coffee experience, which means there's a community to that. There's a
Mhm.
social angle. People hanging out at Starbucks, seeing people at Starbucks, feeling comfortable sitting in front of a fireplace. And when they went overboard with all their drive-through mania, they lost all that.
Mhm.
So, but there's been a lot of misinformation. So I'll just go through a couple things. One was, you know, there was a lot of reports that they were closing 900 stores. Maybe you heard that. I heard
Mhm.
that. But when you research that, that's totally wrong. They're cutting 900 corporate and non-retail jobs. You know what that means to you and I? Overhead.
Yeah, they're making yeah,
Yeah.
useless overhead.
Non-essential overhead. And they're closing only 1% of the North American stores, which equates to about 200 stores. And they're closing those stores judiciously based on the fact that they'll never be profitable,
Mhm.
right? Or they can't be remodeled to bring forward the new experience. And this is all the work of Brian Nicole. I don't know if it's Nicole, I don't know how you say his name, so apologize for that. But you know, he's come forward with this plan called Back to Starbucks, you know.
Mhm.
Um, so, and it's a $1 billion restructuring plan. How does that compare, to, by the way, to Cracker Barrel? Weren't they spending more than $1 billion?
They spent, I thought they spent 700 million
Okay. All right.
to
So just,
to
all right.
redo everything. But if you now have to go back, which they're doing, they're unremodeling. In other
We're
words, they're
back to Cracker
remodeling
Barrel.
back to
Back to
Cracker Barrel.
Cracker Barrel before the
So
crack
I
was
would guess it's
remodeled.
gonna
Yeah.
be well over $1 billion by the time they're done.
Yeah. So, so the back to Starbucks is, adding new stores, refitting stores to make them more warm and welcoming, which is what I think I remember from Starbucks in the beginning as community centers. And I think that's all really smart. Now, Target, we already said Jaguar off the table.
Yep.
But Target, I would just take a play. I would just take a page from Nicole's playbook at Starbucks, and I would say back to Target.
Yeah.
Get jiggy again with the core customer, who's largely female mothers, families, who they are, what they value, what they care a lot about, what makes the brand experience remarkable. And I would reinvigorate on that basis. And that might mean some changes in their store. It might be adding some new services that are high touch, um, and doing those kinds of things. And stay away from the politics. Just stay
Yeah.
out of that. This is not where your shopper wants to be reminded of when they're shopping for their family and the things that they think about, why they go to Target.
Mm-hmm. Good. Well, speaking of Starbucks and drinks, we had the soda topic a lot this year. And we know about Pepsi losing out to Dr. Pepper as the number 2.
Yep.
But the big kerfuffle was all about the healthy sodas. And Pepsi bought Poppy and then proceeded to come out with its own healthy soda, which
Yeah.
is like, I'm not sure about that one. And then Coke came out with Simply Pop. And Coke was originally going to buy Poppy. So they avoided buying them and came out with their own. But it was more of like, just there's fruit juice in it. It's not really healthy soda. So right now, Poppy is outselling Olipop by about 20%. So you have Poppy, you have Olipop, and then you have everyone else. So how do you think this craziness sorts itself out?
Well, first of all, when you yourself split a category, like a new category, and rather than being uber focused on building that category with one brand, you then introduce another brand. I don't understand that thinking at all. You have just truncated the growth of the category and confused the market. And if you do it to yourself, again, it's unliving both brands. I think the whole category will level off to a fixed percentage of the soda market.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be very small at the end of the day. And so there'll be way too many competitors and there'll have to be some rationalization. It's not unlike in the early parts of my career, I worked for a pork producer who did hams and bacon and hot dogs and lunch meats. And they went crazy over the fact that what was really happening then, and it was a big topic, was the lean hot dogs, the type you buy in the package. And Eckridge was killing it in the Midwest with this, supposedly. But they had the category to themselves. So I remember doing research on lean packaged hot dogs at the time. And, you're always kind of guessing, even with research. And they estimated that this lean, no fat, low fat hot dog in the case would be level off about 12 to 20% of the total hot dog packaged goods market.
Mm-hmm.
It never got that big. And it didn't get that big because you can never see what's going to come. It's going to affect it. And what came that affected it, it's kind of what's going on in this healthy soda, like fruit juice. And so is that a healthy soda? I don't know. What is healthy? So the unanticipated trends that kind of stymie this lower fat was organic and
Mm-hmm.
natural. So I doubt, and there's no real evidence on this, but I really doubt that the lean hot dog market is more than 2 to 3% today, nowhere near the 12 or 20%. And right now, healthy soda, coincidentally, is at 2% of the near $43 billion traditional soda market. So my guess is at best it will level out at about 5% or below. And because now I'm going to include prebiotic. I mean, it's like, what type are you talking about? Is it fruit mixin? Is it prebiotic? Is it probiotic? Is it low calorie? I mean, what the heck is it?
Well, we were down at Ogilvy Resort this past weekend, and it was interesting because we went into a restaurant and they were, quick serve, and they had a cooler and it had drinks in it. But, usually you have a water section and you have a soda section. Every single shelf or slot in that was a different drink. And I look at the commercials out right now, you can actually get all these mixed drinks in a can now.
Yeah.
If you want a gin and tonic or a White Russian, or,
White Claw.
like there are so many drinks available, options available. Where does that stop? I mean, it's no longer water or pop. Those were two choices in the past. I mean, we remember when Snapple came out, and that was a whole big thing. And then you had flavored Snapple, and now we're talking. I don't know what they call the like the White Claw. I don't know what that officially is called, or all of these mixed drinks in cans, or you have craft brews versus regular beer. And I mean, the number of options in drinks is just, it's unfathomable.
Yeah.
How could you even store all this stuff as a vendor?
Well, even as a vendor and then as a consumer, I mean, and as a producer, now you have all this time and energy and focus going into broadening this line. I mean, just the amount of different canning, different bottles, different. It's got to hurt profitability at some point, right? If you don't establish a great market. So yeah, I think it's mind numbing. I mean, you walk in even to a carry out, like a B. Up here we have BP. Carry outs are pretty big, but we have an independent, and they're walking coolers bigger than any. Is bigger, and what they carry is bigger than what Meyer carries.
Wow.
I just don't know how they make that go.
You might be better off going and playing the Powerball.
Yeah, I might be.
versus predicting where that one's going to land.
Yeah, that's the problem with predictions, is like they're rarely right because you never see what's going to come that you didn't see on the horizon.
Right. Okay, Lorraine, let's wrap up this season wrap up, and I'm going to give you the floor of all the episodes we had this year. Which one was your favorite, or perhaps which topic was your favorite?
Well, and this will be no surprise to you, and maybe to those who've really tuned in, but my favorite topic, rather than the podcast, so I'll let the audience decide that, is the importance of positioning, which to me is always about a 1-2 punch. The first punch is getting the right idea, the idea that differentiates your brand from competitors in a meaningful, distinctive way. That's number one. Do we have an idea here that makes it easy for people who have choice to choose us and not the competitor? You don't have that, you don't have a hand, as they say. That the second part, and the absolute critical component, is getting the idea right, which is in how you express your idea through the disciplines of branding and advertising. Because you can have a brilliant positioning idea, which is the strategy, but it's innately boring unless it's brought to life in an engaging, memorable, and relevant way, in a way that somehow creates the magic, that that mercurial element that comes from the creative side, and that's what makes positioning the idea stick in the mind. And you got to have both. Getting the right idea without getting the idea right is dead on arrival, right? DOA. And creative that fails to deliver a sustainable, meaningfully important difference, aka the positioning idea, is like cotton candy. It collapses before it's ingested. It has no substance. It has no life. So that's what I'd like to have people always do, is work hard to get the right idea, and then work hard to get the idea right. And what I've learned is the talents needed for one are rarely the same talents that are needed for two. So this is where you need a team. You need a team of collaborators who really understand the importance of positioning.
Very good. Love that. Well, as we publish this, we are 2 months from Christmas and 2 months and a week from the new year. And of course, we always have our New Year's resolutions. So as we sign off for the year, what advice would you give our audience that they can use as their 2026 guiding principle?
Keep it small, keep it obvious, be real.
I like it. I like it. That's good. Well, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Brand Shorthand Podcast. Lorraine, as always, thanks for joining us.
Great.
And thank you
Mark.
to our listeners. If you can subscribe, and share this with your friends, shout it from a mountaintop. We don't care how you share it, but we appreciate you joining us. And until next season, have an amazing last day of the year, last couple months of the year, whatever is your amazing. Have an amazing day.
Ain't nobody's business but my own. You say you are